Welcome to Face to Face. Our guest today is Ramesh Misra. Recently, he retired as a senior official from Indian Civil Services, and just now he has released his book about his father, who was a freedom fighter in India. We are going to talk to him about the book, and also he is involved in various other interesting activities, including music, writing, and filmmaking. So, Ramesh, welcome to our studio,
Thank you.
and it is really a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Same here.
Of course, we met for the first time in 1977
Oh,
in
yeah.
Sir Sundar Hostel in
Yeah.
Allahabad University.
Mhm.
You were, I think, 1 year or 2 years senior to me.
Yeah, 1 year. I was
One year senior to me,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then so it's really a pleasure to, I'm sure we'll catch up a little bit about those old days.
Sure, sure.
So first, let's start about your book, which you have just written, and this is written in Hindi, Pratap Ki Sangharsh Gatha, and Ek Adhura Sangran.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's a very emotional book for you, where you talk about your father. So first question to you is, tell us about your father.
Upendra, one thing just before starting anything on my father, I want to say why I have written this book. Not because he was my father, but he was a great man, right? My father was born in a very orthodox Hindu family, orthodox Brahmin family, which never imagined that my father will be participating in freedom struggle. My grandfather was a priest in temple, so he wanted my father to continue the business of ritual. He wanted my father to be a pandit, puja path karna and all these things. But my grandmother, Dadi, she inculcated feeling of freedom, and she used to tell stories of Maharana Pratap, Jhansi Ki Rani to my father when he was a child. I asked my Dadi when my father came out of jail, India became independent. Dadi, why you told this all the story of Rana Pratap and Jhansi Ki Rani to Papa? She said, I used to enjoy because your father used to enjoy these stories and kept calm and quiet when I started the stories. So I never imagined that my story will affect so much on his character or his thoughts that he will participate in freedom struggle when he was in class 9. He was only 17-year old when 1942 Quit India movement was started. My father was a strong supporter of Subhash Chandra Bose.
Mm-hmm.
So he left house, asked my dadi कि माँ अब हम जात हैं, I'm going. तो पूछी कहाँ? तो बोला तू जानता हो हमके तू ही सिखाऊ. But you told me everything, you taught me, you brought me up like that, so you know where I'm going. My daddy was knowing he's going in freedom struggle, so he left his house when he was 17 and went to nearby station Meja Road in Allahabad and burned the railway station and also destroyed the British currency. And then he started his career, and he was declared Farar.
Mm-hmm.
And Misa, DIR, Balba, Agjani, destroying the currency of Britishers, all this lot of FIR laws against him. Then my father couldn't come back to house. My mother used to tell me that my father was absconding and the police was in search of him. My old house where my daddy and my mother, my grandfather lived, that was burned by the Britishers.
So now, before you move forward, so what are your first memories of your father? Like how old you were or what you remember?
Oh, right.
Yes.
I remember my father when I was 1 or 2 years, I was 2.5 years I was old. My father was inspector, local intelligence unit in Saharanpur. And because he was freedom fighter, so he was deputed the responsibility of spying the hidden activities done by Pakistan when country was independent. So he was doing that job. He used to come late night. Sometimes he was in disguise as a Muslim person, sometimes Parsi person. I used to astonish like, wow, my face. Sometimes I couldn't recognize it is my father.
Okay.
So मैं डर जाता था कि माँ के पास भाग आता था, तो फिर वो मुस्कुराते हुए अंदर मुझे पकड़ के लाते थे. I was the youngest of my family. So I was not knowing why he changes his clothes and all these things. He was a police inspector in local intelligence unit. So first I remember my father that. After that I remember when he was in Agra, Inspector Ayu. Sometimes some robbers came to my house and took the papers, all this thing from my house. I was in second class in school, and suddenly police came to my school and took me and my brother from school to home. I was surprised why it never happened that in daytime police came to me and took me from my college school. So I went and I realized that something happened. My mother had scratches on hand, all these things. She registered the robbers, but they took all the files, papers. I was in second class, I couldn't understand. I remember my father was very much excited that how they dared to took the paper, all these things. But anyway, later on, I was with my father when I grew. I was in Shahjahanpur and different places. Remember, my father was a very, very honest person, and because he was a freedom fighter, so he had all the time he has grudge against the political system, and used to say that he never thought that country will be like that. And in services, he kept his life struggling and fighting against corruption, and he suffered a lot. He never told me. I remember Upendra, just I wanted to tell about my father. So I start when I came to know my father exactly. As a son, I used to know my father is my father, and he used to tell me right things, what is wrong, what is right, what is Indian culture, how you should behave, how you should act. But I came to know my father, what he was when he was retired. It was in 1981. And I think I was that time in hostel. I was living in Sundara hostel. I was living with you people. And when my father retired, I wanted to live with my father because he was living in Allahabad. But he said, no, beta, your study will be better in hostel, so you keep living in hostel. So I was in hostel. I was in the MA. First 2 years, my father was in job when we went together. When I was in MA final, then my father retired and came to me. Then I told my father, I want to come to you. Then he said, no, you stay in hostel because your study will be disturbed. Anyway, I studied you people. I tried and I was selected in police as a deputy SP. So I was happy and I went home and told Papa that I am selected in police services. So I found my Papa was not happy. I was shocked. I thought that...
it's a big thing to be selected to the police.
That's why I was shocked. Why is shocked? Papa, you're not happy? So I said, you took me, come, let's come. He took me to my room, I think, or my mother was sitting, so he took me out of sight of my mother and took me in another room. Beta, I don't want you to join police. Why? So, but I suffered a lot. I never told you people, your brothers, sisters, because you'll disturb. So I don't like you to suffer what I had. Then he started telling. Then I asked, why, Papa, what you suffered? So he said, I never told you. When I joined police in 1948, my father was a big freedom fighter. He was arrested in 1942 where he burned so many railway stations, destroyed currency, and he was in jail, Mirzapur jail. Then therefrom he was shifted to the central jail, Naini, 1943. Then in 43 last he was shifted to Agra Central Jail, distant away from Allahabad because he was a nuisance for the Britishers. So from 43 to independence, country independence, where general amnesty was awarded to all freedom fighters, he came from jail. So my father had this feeling that I am freedom fighter, we struggle for India, so India should be like what we imagined. So when he joined, Govind Ballabh Pant saw him somewhere in jail, so he was so.
Who was the first Chief Minister of UP?
UP was Sucheta Kripalani.
Okay.
So Sucheta.
He was also Chief Minister of UP, no? Govind Ballabh Pant. No.
He was a home minister or something.
Okay.
My father told me that Govind Ballabh Pant asked me to join police, and we want people like you who are patriot, and we want to do something because the country was divided to Pakistan, and Pakistan was doing something wrong in India. So Govind Ballabh Pant wanted my father to work for the country. So he asked my father to join police. My father, without an examination, he was given a slip and he joined sub-inspector in 1948 in PTC Muradabad. There, when there was a function and all police officers, senior police officers of UP were sitting, my father saw some senior police officer, and he was the person who used to I think, punish the Indian freedom fighters. And my father told that he was instrumental to hang few freedom fighters. He manipulated the stories and court cases, made court cases. So my father said, this fellow is an anti-national and he was against the country's independence, and how we will work under him. My father said this thing to some colleague. The colleague murmured, and they came to adjutant. There was a officer of SSP rank called adjutant. Adjutant took it otherwise, and he was a British person of British mentality. Because the country became independent, the ICS were ruling the country, and IP, Indian Police, they were ruling the police services. So he adjutant was also from IP. So after this function, he asked my father and made a court martial like this, and he said, you are punished. You said something against the highest officer of the police. And my father was punished in 1948 in PTC, and for 2 months he was asked to put the takhat, the bed, hard bed of cord, wooden bed, with his bed, chowki, and with bed, uska takhat ke upar rakh ke, and in morning and evening he used to take 2 rounds of the this police training college ground. See the agony. My father told me I was a freedom fighter, and it was only 6 months or 8 months where past the country became independent, and I was punished like this. And for the reason that I said that this is a British follower and I can't do work, I can't work under him. He said the right thing, and he was punished. My father never told this thing. When I was selected in police, my father said my beginning of police service was like that. Until my retirement, I fought. Earlier, they were the British mentality police officers. Later on, when IPS came and other came, they became aristocratic. They inherited all the habits from the IP and ICS. They were aristocratic, and I have opposed, and all the time I suffered. So these police, I don't want to see the police people because I suffered, and I don't want you to suffer. Then I thought it's very bad. Then immediately after that, my father, a few months back, after that, he expired. I had the problem, my father told not to join police. And first time I heard from my father that he suffered a lot, I was so shocked. Then I decided the pain my father had, I want to see the pain what he had. And in same ground I will go as an officer where my father suffered. And
where was at that time posted? Which place in India?
Me.
Yeah.
No, I was just...
No, not you. Your father, when he was tortured, where was he at that time?
When I started, my father was retired.
Retired, okay.
He was retired, that's why he said, Then I decided, I told my mom that, Amma, I will go to join police. She said, पिताजी ने मना किए थे, तुमको क्यों जाओगे? मैंने कहा मेरा मन नहीं लग रहा है, पिताजी नहीं है घर में, मेरा मन नहीं लग रहा है. तो था भी. After that, my father died.
And it was a good opportunity as well for in India.
So, right, that's it. So, but I did not join to continue the police. I tell you frankly, I joined to leave the police. I joined the police services to leave the police, and I went to police station, police training college in Muradabad, and I took my clothes of my father, all cotton clothes, very old clothes. I altered in within 2-3 days in Allahabad I was there. I altered from tailor, and I used I took all the clothes to PTC, and I used to wear that clothes. So when I went first day, I came out for drill. So my colleague started laughing at me. What you have wear? So he said, it's a cotton and it's a altered, it's old. No one wears. You are a police officer, not a constable. So I said nothing. I told you I have this thing. After a few days, when people are all the time, they started laughing. Then I told my friend, he was a Misra, DCD Adhura Sangran. She was my room partner. I told him that this is my father's clothes. And when I wear his clothes, I find the feeling of my father in me. So I wear it. Then they all started honoring me. They said to my friends, he's wearing the clothes because it's his father's clothes and he wants his father to with him. So I used to take this clothes and people started loving me. When after that ground where my father used to take this round with chowki, all this thing, I used to walk and remember my father.
Oh, that is what I was asking, that which place he was doing the chowki thing. So it was the same place.
It was the same place. Same place. So I used to wonder, I imagined that my father is looking me from heaven, and that I am doing the circle, what my father suffered. But I'm not with the thing, but I used to take a round of the 4 round, 5 round, 6 round, more than what was desired from us. And after 6-7 months, then I think that now I should completed my job and I resigned from police. Then you resigned. Which year was that when you resigned? It was in 1983, I think 83. I resigned from police.
Okay.
And then I joined civil services. I was selected. Meanwhile, I tried, and my father asked me to prepare for civil services, and I was selected in police services, and I joined. So since the day I joined civil services, I wanted to. And then my father told everything. Then my father, after that, for a few months, he was with me when I was selected in police. So he daily used to sit me. That time I was selected in Immigration College, a lecturer. So I used to go to
in Allahabad.
Yeah. I used to go to college, and when I came, he used to come back in evening. My father used to prepare tea for me, waiting for me in veranda, and I used to see my father. And I used to sit with him in evening, and he used to tell everything. Then I started asking my father, tell me something more. So he narrated the whole story of his life, what he suffered, and that I had in my mind when my father went away, and I joined in 1983 in civil services. I decided that I should make a film on my father, not because he's my father, to tell the people of India how a person suffered, not my father, lot of persons suffered, how the person suffered for making country independent, and we should think the sacrifice of them, and people should not target the honest people. My father was the honest people, he was targeted. So this, I wanted to make a film, but because of the problem, I have written my book.
Okay, so now let's come back. So this is a book here, and it is available on Amazon.
Yeah,
anybody can buy there.
Yeah,
in US or in India or anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
through Amazon.
Yeah.
So if you had to tell me, if to walk away with 5 messages from this book,
right?
What would be the 5 messages from this book?
Right. This book is a real story of my father. My father's real interaction with me. Because I stayed with my father was in job until he was job. So he was so busy, police officer. So we had no time to talk to him. He used to go in morning, came in night, all this. So we had no time to talk to him. When he retired and I was in Allahabad, and I started staying with him. I left my hostel and I stayed with my father. Then for 4 months, he told everything to me. So that 4 months, I interacted with my father. So what I got from him, what I collected from father, that I have written in this book.
Okay.
This book, first, what is mainly, my father was a freedom fighter. He as a freedom fighter, what he imagined the country couldn't be like that. He started his struggle in 1942. He went to jail in 1942. And he died in 1982. So 40 years, 1942 was the year the countrymen used to sacrifice his property, life for the country. The people were united. There was ethical values.
Sure.
People had ethical values. They used to respect everyone. They had a real love for the country in 1942. And in 1982, after 40 years, my father saw how the country was divided by these politicians, how the corruption came in politics, how the bureaucracy became corrupt, how and to what, where this bureaucracy reached.
Mm-hmm.
What it was in 1942, it was ICS and IP, and in 1982 they became IAS and IPS. They inherited the same culture of ruling the party, governing the party, aristocratic life of their personal belonging, collect personal belongings, all these things in 82. Now this is 2018. 2019.
Yeah.
So 82, 20 years, again around 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Our countries being divided by a lot of politicians. Since it happened in UP, in country everywhere, on the name of the caste, creed, religion, we are divided. Corruption in politics, extreme. See the democracy, what is democracy? The criminals, they are coming into power, they are being elected. So this is first message from this book is the youth of the country should think what is the future of India.
Mm-hmm.
1942, how the people united, why the country became independent, why the Britishers left India. It was a 1942 feeling of Indians, the character of Indians. In 1982, the books narrate how in distress my father expired, died.
Mm-hmm.
It was only 62 years. He was a strong man. How anyone is strong without any the problem, a medical problem? He died because he had heart attack because of his stress. And after 40 years, what the country is facing. So this is for the youth of the country that think that whether the country, maybe it has own Tiranga Jhanda, but how the life of this country is, what love for each other countrymen have, we should think of it. So this is message of the country. Youth think the country is independent, but how it became independent and where it can go in future. I don't say that we will be non-independent again. Freedom will be lost. No. But when the country is weeping, the masses are not getting the proper respect, the injustice are being prevailed in villages. How can you say the country is democratic and independent? So first.
Okay.
Second, the important, I told that my father's and my interaction is based on this book. This is how a father should behave with son and how a son should behave with a father. Or you can say a sensitive father, how a sensitive father behave with a son and how a sensitive son behave with a father. You will go through the book, you will find a lot of cases. My father never told his problem to me because he had a lot of suffering, but he never, and he presented him as a strong man, because if son always gather the strength from his father. If my father in my career building has showed that he was a weak person or a lot of people has tortured him, so I could have feel insecure. So my father never told me that I have any problem. He showed I had feeling of my father as a strong man. I saw him as a strong man. So father should never tell his problem to his son, because the son gathers strength from father. One message. And second message, the son should not tell the weaknesses and the problem to his father, because father feels pity, helpless. So I had few problems. I had monetary problems. Sometimes I used to go to cycle, and that was a time that I was hungry. I used to take food from my house. I could have gone to hotel, all this thing, but I had no money. My father was so honest. I used to get 12,000. I used to keep that money to my father. Hey, Papa, no, you take it there, but it's your money. So I never told that I have some desire. I want to get good clothes and I want to see a lot of films. when I came to know my father's problem, then I lost this. I said I won't tell anything to my father, my problem. So my father felt that my son is a strong man and he can bear out this country. So 2 lessons. And third lesson from this book, book contains the hard, how the society is hard, how the society is insensitive, and how this country is behaving with the real freedom fighters or the patriot person. This is message. Leaders should think that if someone wants to do for the country, he should be respected. He should give a chance. You should not manipulate the things. All the persons who are giving you vote, all the persons who are managing parliament seats and MLA seats, you do for them, you select for them, you take advice from them. It's not good for the country. You should select the proper person from the countrymen who are real patriot, wants to do for the country. Those few messages and more I don't know actually.
Sure. So now this is your first book or you have written more books?
It is my first book, and second book I will start very soon. It's my own experience because I have also suffered a lot.
Okay.
I never told to anyone. I never told my sons understand because they are more intelligent and because of newspaper, all this.
Well, you are also very intelligent in the hostel.
Hostel.
Okay. So now, before I let you go, I do want to touch your, our stay in the hostel, Sir Sundarlal hostel. So, do you ever think go back to those days, or it is too?
Then Upendra, I met you, and so once I meet Kamlesh and Rajiv, so I behave like this.
Yeah.
When I was in hostel.
Yeah.
So, but it is very long time.
Sure.
40 years, I think. 30. 40.
More than more than 40 years.
So that's not possible. If you want to enjoy like that, we can talk few hours. Again, it doesn't persist.
Sure. Okay.
So in hostel, I remember when I go to Laos, I see the hostel. I met you. I think you're young Upendra.
Sure.
We used to take cycle. We used to take cycle for 25 paise per hour.
To go to the movie palace here.
So 25, and sometimes we even suppose we saw the movie and we had to pay 75 paise, so we did not have money.
Yeah, sure.
So that वो साइकिल वाला उससे कहते थे यार बाद में करेंगे तो वो days थे. And
but I think we made a good friendship at the time. The whole the ragging and all this stuff which brought us.
I again say 40 years.
Yeah.
Now you go to the hostel and see the status and the attitude of the students. They change. What I have written is the same thing I'm saying, that what we lived 40 years back, it is not there. Society is changed. People become very mechanical, very selfish. We used to live, आपका कपड़ा पहन लिया, आपसे पैसा ले लिया, आपने जो खाए खाने में नहीं, आपसे पैसा मांग लिया, खाने को नहीं कुछ खिला दो, मेस में हमारे लिए बना तुम खिला दो, वो सब चीजें थी. I don't think there's a prevailing in hostel.
Yeah.
People are so self-conscious. I'll say they think of themselves only, not their friends and other people. So self-oriented people are there. So this is society, social change. I don't think we will. If you want to live in the hostel, we will be so happy as we used to live in 40 years back. We were happy.
Sure.
This is situation is changed. The country is changed now.
Sure. Okay, Ramesh, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we will stay in touch.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm so happy that I'm sitting with you after so long.
So, yeah, absolutely.